everyone. Michael Mansell here from Online Sales Pro, and today I have a very special guest on with me today. It is Gary Ryan Blair, the creator of the 100-Day Challenge. How are you doing today, Gary?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, awesome. It's really good to have you on here because I've been going through a lot of your content and what you've done. You've done some really incredible things in the corporate side, in online marketing side, in personal development, entrepreneurial development, in performance development. And so when Joel and I met with you, we really saw this synergy between the mindset and some of the performance enhancements and everything you do to help people grow as an entrepreneur and a business owner, online and offline. We really felt like this would be a good combination between Online Sales Pro and the tools we offer and the more of the mindset side and the position and the shift that people need to make if they're going to really receive the blessings of the income and the revenue and everything that can be generated in online marketing. So that's one of the main reasons why you're on here today. But I just wanted you to give us a little brief rundown of some of the things you've done, some of the things you're doing right now inside of the industry to help people, go from where they're at right now and they're telling themselves they want to become tomorrow, 30 days, 90 days from now, and some of the things you've applied and taught people to get to that level.
Be happy to. I consider myself kind of a rapid execution mechanic. And what I mean by that is I teach people how to close the gap between knowing and doing. How do they accelerate their rate of success? Now, the tagline that I have a tendency of using is you can get more done in 100 days than most people do over the course of 10 years. So let me speak right to that, just to give everybody some proof. The biggest challenge I think most people have is they take an extended period of time and they think it's going to take a lot longer than it takes in order to achieve just about anything. So as an example, if you look at, and we just go through just kind of a quick hit list, but something as simple as P90X. This is a program that's been out for years, and they have basically proven again and again that you can have a complete radical body transformation in 90 days, meaning that you can go from fat to firm and looking fantastic and even 10 years younger in 90 days. That's powerful to know that you could literally do that. Now, where else do we see that? Well, look at Dancing with the Stars. That's on TV. And they take people, entertainers who've never danced before, and within one season, which is approximately 100 days, they're able to take them through rudimentary skills where they start with and become truly expert ballroom dancers. It's amazing in terms of how that transformation takes place. We see this in the military. And I do a lot of work with special forces, but I'm very well versed in terms of what goes on in boot camps and everything else. But you can take a brand new recruit who's never shot a gun in their life, and in a 100-day period of time, they've got to fine-tune into a well-disciplined soldier. And the same thing is true for a reformer. I mean, if you take the time and look at, let's just say, when seeds get planted in one season, in about 90 to 100 days, so in the wintertime, and all of a sudden you start to look at in springtime and so forth, you've got yourself a beautiful harvest that takes place in that shorter period of time. Those are 4 or 5 examples right there, and I could give you a bunch more that basically prove that you can create a massive, a radical transformation in a very short period of time. There's certain things you need to do in order to make that happen, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's kind of the missing piece for a lot of our members inside of Online Sales Pro, whether they're just getting started today for the first time online or they've been online for a long time. And I can speak from personal experience. It wasn't until I made that mindset shift of, oh my gosh, this is going to take me 5 years to achieve goals that I want to get to, or that I'm, talking to my wife and my family, like this is what online marketing is going to afford us to do, but it's going to take us, a year, 2 years, 5 years to accomplish. And when I made that shift that you're just describing about, Gary, is I literally was able to achieve things online in my businesses, not 5 years, but in 5 months, and not even in 5 months, in 5 weeks. Yeah. And so I totally agree with you. The whole 100-day mentality, if we think in that and we actually push us, a lot of times we know what we need to do. We're just not doing it, right?
That's the biggest issue. I think that's probably the biggest plague of mankind is truly that gap between knowing and doing. But look at it this way. I mean, you could spend your entire life learning how to achieve small stuff slowly, or you could find better execution strategies, better ways of thinking and acting, and achieve big goals quickly. So as strange as this is, I'm going to use my daughter as an example. She's involved in the Girl Scouts. Now, the Girl Scouts basically have one revenue stream, and that is to sell cookies. That's it. And when that happens, it's a race against not necessarily just time, but it's a race against all the other girls that are involved in the troop. And in our case, there were 6 girls that within a 2-block radius that were involved in the Girl Scouts. So I told my daughter, Libby, when she came home, listen, we've got a small window of opportunity to seize here. Let's see if we can get out there fast. So I put her in this great little outfit, basically gave her a nice sales script with which to work with. I made a few phone calls and stacked the deck a little bit to get us started. But to make it real simple, we left when she got off the bus at 2:35. We were out on the street at 3 o'clock, knocked on doors, visited people. By 7 o'clock, by the time we get home, we sold 625 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. She achieved her entire quota in literally just 3.5 hours. That's some serious hustle. And it's just, bottom line is these are principles that could be taught for somebody that's young, old, in between, starting a business, but you just have to sit back and ask yourself, why do it slow when you can basically get off to the mark fast?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of times people do get bogged down by the minutia and the details of how they're launching their business, how they're approaching people, how they're talking about it. I can imagine that when you're with your daughter going to Girl Scouts cookies, it wasn't about perfect your elevator pitch when you show up at the door or you're talking to somebody. It's about just leading with that passion, and not really coming from a position of desperation. Because I do see a lot of people, they'll start out and they'll lead with this desperation because they feel like they're under the gun and they got this time limit and they got to get it all done right then. So how do you help people differentiate between desperation and just having that passion that actually translates into conversion?
Sometimes desperation is not such a bad thing. I think it's a very good motivator as long as you use it in a constructive manner.
Right.
But the big differential is this: just understand, at the end of the day, it all comes down to better execution skills. So let me make it real simple. Just because of the work I've done in the military, I have a tendency of using this vernacular a lot, but there's a term they use called a force multiplier strategy. So to equate it to you and I, let's just say we have a regular screwdriver. And this is the way I think most people operate. They operate with old school technology and old school beliefs. But if you wanted to put up, let's just say a drywall or whatever the case might be, or secure a roof, it would take you forever with something as simple as an old screwdriver or a hammer. Well, if you go out and buy yourself a power gun, what do you have here? You could put up an entire roof or entire wall, if you will, in a matter of seconds or minutes. It's amazing. Now, when you start looking at it from that standpoint, you realize that there are force multiplier strategies that you and I could use that allow us to get more done faster, that basically incorporate what I call the mini-max formula, which is how do you get the maximum return with the minimal effort? And that's really what the 100-day challenge is all based upon, is getting as much as you possibly can out of one big hit rather than a whole bunch of smaller, all outdated strategies.
Yeah, and that's why I love the synergy between what you teach and how Online Sales Pro is set up and our whole mission. It's we're not setting out to teach people how to become funnel hackers and design these elaborate sales funnels and everything and become a sales funnel master in terms of creating it. It's really just picking up the tools that have already been designed by the people that have proven them to work and actually applying the tools in a big, big way, because our members are able to focus right on the execution like you're talking about, rather than the long-term, we're not going to a 4-year degree before we start implementing the tools and taking these big actions, right?
That's really what it comes down to. But let me give everybody a really good, healthy perspective as to how to look at your business and why you should be using or implementing better strategies from the get-go. We've all heard the term, time is money. But very few of us take the time to really put some meat on the bones and figure out what that means. So let me do the math for everybody. There's 525,600 minutes in a year. That's completely democratic. You, I, everybody who's listening, we get the same amount of time. Now, if you want to make $525,600, that means your time is worth $1 per minute. Then, if you want to make $1 million, we'll just go to the 7-figure digit. Essentially, your time is worth $1.92 per minute. This is when you're walking the dog, when you're sleeping, when you're having dinner, face-to-face, belly-to-belly, doing a webinar. That's what your time is worth. If you make 50 grand per year, your time's worth 11 cents per minute. That's what it comes down to. Now, what does that mean? It means we need to have a hyper-awareness of our relationship between time and activity. And we can only be engaging in activity that basically produces us a dollar amount associated with the income that we're moving towards. Most people never think about this. They've never been trained that way. It's just kind of the way that it goes. So I'm going to provide everybody with different ways of looking at their business, different ways of looking at every minute of their day. And by doing so, as long as you implement it, you'll make some extraordinary gains in your performance.
Right. And let's talk about that for a second. Why should people take, that evaluation of their current goals and strategies to move to that next level? Why is it important to really evaluate where they're at right now?
Well, the evaluation process essentially just allows you, you'd call it an after action review, kind of like what are your strengths, your weaknesses, what's your current situation and status, and what's the gap between the two. But fundamentally, you need to know where you are currently and look at not just the results, but you've got to look at what are the behaviors, what are the beliefs, what are the attitudes, what are all the different things that you put in place in order to get where you currently are, and then realize in order to get to another level, this is what I'm about to say is a rule without an exception. You will not get to another level with the same level of performance that got you here. It's going to require better, or what I would say, superior beliefs and superior execution strategies. You need to do things better. And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely.
This might be helpful. I'm in my early 50s now, and I tell people, not to brag or anything, but I haven't made a sales call in over 20 years. Now, the reason for that is I made a decision a long time ago that I was basically going to build a 100% referral-based business. So I'm in a position now where I'm able to close large sales for a couple $100,000, in some cases for millions, and put lots of people into this program with very, very little effort. Why? Because I'm not taking 2 or 3 or 4 years to build trust from one relationship to the next. It's literally almost given to me because a high credibility relationship with someone else, they're transferring their trust, they're transferring their reputation, they're doing everything they can, and that decreases, if you will, the sales cycle. It almost eliminates the sales cycle, and more importantly, it eliminates a lot of the extra, extraneous costs that come along with that as well. And that's a smart strategy.
Yeah, it's actually a model that I've operated out of for several years now as well. And what I love about that position and building that kind of a business around you is that people make internal buying decisions rather than external buying decisions. Yep. And I'm sure you know what that means, just the concept that they're pretty much coming to you 90% sold on the idea of doing business with you because you've pre-framed it in the sense that they've made that internal buying decision rather than you having to do that closing strategy where they wake up tomorrow and they might forget what their external buying decision was.
It's very true. It's very true. Yeah, it's smart.
Very cool. So let's talk about that 100-day challenge, because that's what we're offering to all of our online Sales Pro members, and you guys get an exclusive entrance into this because you're an online Sales Pro member. But I want you just to briefly talk about, Gary, why you came up with this philosophy, a little bit of the history about it. But a lot of people hear, oh, you need to set goals. You need to have small wins, big wins. You need to set those time frames and everything. And at some point, it does start to sound a little cliche. So why the 100-day challenge, and why is that different than just writing out your goals on a notepad?
Yeah, no problem. Well, the history, the genesis really goes back to 9/11. And to give me a little attitude, I'll kind of educate everybody on this. 9/11 took place, and I was in Maui, of all places, giving a speech. And I got a phone call in the middle of the night saying, turn on the TV, or your gig is canceled, see if you can get out of town. And I couldn't leave. And when I went to Maui, you talk about kind of a transformation of your mind. I went there as a speaker, trainer, consultant. At the time, I wasn't really doing much online, didn't have any ebooks or anything. But by the time I left, because I was stuck there for 4 days, I left as an information entrepreneur. I left with an entirely different mindset. And part of that mindset was I needed to bring my business online so I would never be in this vulnerable position once again. Okay. Now, what was interesting to me was I was interested in creating an evergreen event. I've always loved and built my business around certain dates, whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Groundhog's Day, Christmas, Hanukkah. These are predetermined periods of time that you can have enough time to build a campaign around and are going to happen year after year after year. So if you write and systemize it, you got it. Well, for me, my Groundhog Day I zeroed in on was September 22nd. Since then, it's modeled out, but that date's important because that was the last 100 days of the year. And any good event or marketing scenario requires a good story. So the story was pretty simple. 265 days down, You've got 100 days to go. What are you going to do to finish the year strong if you're already behind target? And that, honestly, that simple philosophy, if you will, garnered and brought in a tremendous amount of business. And since then, we've grown it to the point now we've got over 530,000 people from over 80 countries around the world participating. So that's the genesis, a little bit of the history. A little bit more. When I was in college, I played football, and unfortunately, I got injured. And I had to, figure out what's my next move. It's not going to play pro ball. And at the time, in the early 80s, AT&T had split up, and there was a divestiture. And I happened to be smart enough to see this as an opportunity. And I always grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And I actually started the first collegiate long-distance phone company for the college market. It's called Collegiate Telephony Services. And, in between my studies, I had limited time when I could go out and sell. So I decided I was going to have a kind of a blitz mentality. I would work on Thursday afternoons, Friday afternoons after classes, and on my Saturdays. And I just went out and hired a couple of buddies, and we went out and banged on as many doors and did as much as we possibly can. Then we figured out group selling strategies and everything else. But to fast track this, what I started to realize is that by working smart, by having competitive challenges against one another, by doing a whole host of things, that we could get a lot more done than the average salesperson, let's just say for MCI or Sprint, did over the course of a month. And we proved that again and again, that we were making more money on just a simple weekend than most of your average salespeople were making over the course of a month. Now, as I've expanded, every single business model that I've been involved with has incorporated a challenge. Why? Because just look at any time of the year and look at any professional team, you'll notice that the greatest level of competition comes out when you've got really high performers, basically, with an important goal in mind, whether it's a ring, whether it's the playoffs or whatever the case might be. But the competitive model is the model that brings out the absolute best in a human being. So I knew that was important. The 100 days certainly made sense, and I wanted to make sure that somebody could create a transformation around that time. Then, I've matured it, modeled it, and really fine-tuned it where this is a well-honed system. So now, get right into it. Bottom line is this, is that if you give it everything you've got, all I'm asking is for a 100-day commitment, 100 days, and you really work it hard from beginning to end. You start each day fast, you finish every day strong, you execute the plan the way that it's laid out. To me, I can't see how somebody does not walk out or complete this program without transforming their business and, quite frankly, being in a fantastic financial shape and position for so much more growth as well.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I love how you have the members area structured and how there's just that short, video there giving them that the information and that drive for that day. But then you have the little exercises and work, tasks below it, because if people don't immediately put into action on some level of what they've just learned or what they've just been inspired or driven to do, I found that life can throw them in a whole different direction pretty quickly, right?
Well, it does, and it's designed to be intense. But the beautiful part about what you just said is true. Is I look at information like a perishable good, like fish, eggs, butter, cheese. If you don't use it immediately or within a short period of time, essentially you lose it. So this whole program is about implementation, execution, taking the knowledge you gained, putting deadlines throughout your day, and just giving it everything you've got for that specific day, period of time. And then at the end of the day, basically doing a quick review to make sure that you hit your targets. That's one of the keys to it.
Yeah, and that's really important to review that. A lot of times people, I find, go to bed kind of discouraged from what they didn't accomplish in the day rather than really focusing. So when you start your day out with something like you've got in the 100-day challenge, and every day for that 100-day, you start your day with that right mindset and kind of some goals and tasks you're going to accomplish. By the time you go to bed at night, you have tangible things that you can focus on and say, hey, I did that. I need to do that better tomorrow, but I did that and I did that. And then you wake up and you do it again and you refocus.
Well, that's the beautiful part about this, because I've spent a lot of time, and really one of the first questions I asked myself was, why don't people achieve their goals? If everyone knows they're important, everyone sets them, why do few people hit their targets and hit them consistently and then continue to raise the ceiling on them? So all of those answers really comes down to is, what are the best practices that could be built into a program that enforce focus, accountability, execution, continual measurements, You know, and quite frankly, personal pride, because when you get done and you look at your day's performance and know that you're on target, you know that you are using that whole idea, that principle of compounded effort, to your advantage, and that's ultimately the key thing to it. But you know, one of the things I talk about is the importance of really achieving a large goal, and why you need to shoot for the moon. So if you don't mind, let me just kind of touch on that for just a moment. There's a term that most of us are not familiar with. It's called strategic byproducts. But the idea being is that once you get to a certain level of success, or you achieve something that is just so significant, the other benefits and things that come along for the ride are absolutely amazing. And as an example, I mean, you can look at any professional athlete who at 20 or 22, or someone wins a Super Bowl, that they could live off that for the rest of their lives. It's really pretty amazing. And in this social world with which we live in right now, it is pretty astonishing. So I just want everybody to be thinking about not just what about achieving your goals, what about the strategic byproducts that come along with this? Reputational capital, how much more money you're going to make, how many more additional opportunities are going to come your way that are unforeseen right now. But I promise you, once you start knocking it out of the park, people are interested. They want to hear and find out what you're doing, and that just provides you with some additional opportunities for income as well.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I'm definitely firsthand receiver of those benefits when I just focused on my daily actions. Because what I did before that didn't work, it gave me minimal results, was I would take some action and then sit back and wait for the result, rather than continuing to focus on those massive actions every single day, and the results start coming. And if I had sat out, even just like last year, 2018, my best year ever in online marketing, if I had started the year, and I started out with some of my goals, but I could have never guessed some of the opportunities that came my way that I was able to take advantage of, because I was focused on my actions rather than worrying about, where everything else was going to come from.
Bingo. Yeah.
So that's really cool. So one of the other things I want to really speak directly to our Online Sales Pro members here, and why we strongly believe that every single person in Online Sales Pro should be going through Gary's 100-day challenge alongside your online business, is because of the shift that it'll make from everything else and a lot of the noise that you hear online from the affiliate marketing, network marketing, multi-level marketing industry that we get bombarded with every single day. And Gary, this is something that we experience every single day in our social news feeds, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. There's just so many different directions. And it's not that any one of them are not good.
Yeah.
What I found is that a lot of times they become very redundant, because people are speaking from the level that they're at, which is great. But when you take what I've seen and experienced inside your course already, which is a very, very fresh take on the goal setting, on the actions that we need to take, and you come with that type of a shift that we're not used to experiencing in our daily news feed, it'll give our mind a fresh look on our business, on our goals, and our actions. And can you speak to that a little bit in terms of your corporate dealings and the large scales of mentoring that you've done through your 100-day challenge?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. I think everybody will appreciate this, because we talk about, you're going to be talking about selling your services. So I'll give everybody a perspective in terms of how I see the world and how I sell. You won't find a heck of a lot about me on Instagram and some of these other social networks for this reason. Like I said before, I chose to build my business by referral, but the other was I decided to play in with very big clients, if you will. So I'm in 60% of the Fortune 500. I'm in roughly 70% of the franchises throughout the United States and in other parts of the world. Associations are a big market for me as well. And that alone, those three are extraordinary. And the reason for it's pretty simple. If I'm able to develop a relationship with whether it's a CEO or president or the person responsible for franchise development or training of some kind, these people could write a check for 50,000 participants, 100,000 participants, or so forth. So it's pretty amazing from that standpoint. So I've been kind of trained myself and have gone after very, very big fish. Coming down, breaking it down as it relates towards just the challenge itself, the best way to look at this is all about thinking better, and it's about relentless execution for a 100-day period of time. I promise everybody, if you just focus in on that and hone it. Now, let me touch on the word focus here for just a moment. Because what you were referring to, and you basically said there's some distraction. There's a lot of different messages and a lot of different programs, places for you to go. The intent behind this is to eliminate those distractions. So one of the things I talk about is the idea about following one course until successful. Don't pick, this is not a program for 20 or 30 goals. This is a program for 1 to 3, that's it. And the reason for it is I want you to maybe take a cue from me if I were coaching each person one-on-one, is that I'm a big believer in having a very, very narrow focus. Hence, that's kind of what I focus in on, rapid execution program. Obviously, the high performance, everything else incorporated, but fundamentally, I believe that the best business model looks like olive oil. Olive oil being Popeye's girlfriend. And it's a long, tall drink of water, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And it's very narrow sights. And unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they get kind of pulled in a lot of directions, left, right, and here and there. And this solves all of those issues. It really does.
Right. And what really comes up for me there is something that I was able to achieve with specifically YouTube marketing niche. Is there's so many different avenues we can market our business online. It's ridiculous. We have so many more opportunities today than we did even just 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think a lot of people, especially in online marketing, do is they try to attack, like you were saying, all these different goals at once, rather than seeing if maybe they can accomplish 1 or 2 of these big goals in that 100 days, in that shorter period of time. And that's exactly what I did without even really knowing at the time that that was the right thing to do. Was I focused on, I've got a YouTube channel that, only had a few hundred, subscribers at the time. And I said, in the next, so many days, yeah, I'm going to get my subscriber count, real subscribers that are saying, yes, Michael, I like what you say. I want to continue to see more of your videos. I wanted to get that up over 10,000 I told myself 60 days. I'm going to do that in 60 days. I was thinking that'd probably take me about a year initially, and I just said, no, I'm going to do it in 60 days. Well, I was actually able to achieve almost 13,000 subscribers in that 60 days. Whereas before, it took me 2 years to get to like a few hundred subscribers. And I think that's the big shift when you make, because what I didn't realize at the time was that, yeah, having the multiple marketing avenues and multiple channels where people could find me is good and it's beneficial. But what I was able to achieve over the next year was just that one solid, well-followed YouTube channel completely trumped anything that I was doing on multiple scales at the time.
Mm-hmm. Bravo for you. That's exactly the right way to go about doing it. So it's a great textbook example.
So what I'm thinking now, just talking to you today, is as I go through the 100-day challenge myself, I'm going to set a new goal for myself, saying that in 100 days, I can go where I'm at now and get over 100,000 subscribers. I think that's totally doable. And especially going through some of your content, you would agree with me, that's not an unachievable goal.
It's not. It's really not at all. And it gives all the more credence why you want to shoot for the moon as well. But that's big.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if I get to 90,000 subscribers, that's still more than the 20,000 that I have today. So, it's like that you hear it all the time. We just don't act on it, right? Shoot for the stars, and if you land on the moon, it's not a bad thing.
It's not. It's not at all.
So just to wrap this up here, give them a little idea and a taste of what they're going to experience on a daily basis going through the 100-day challenge.
Sure. The first thing that's going to happen right out of the gate, you're going to go through the orientation. You're going to basically kind of go through my personal goal setting philosophy, if you will. And I think that might even be worth speaking to for just a moment. What I constantly ask myself, to give you kind of an example, sometimes you'll sit back and say, what's the best book you've read? Focus or start with why. It could be a whole bunch of different things. But for me, this may sound like the strangest answer. The best book I've ever come across in my life is a cookbook. And the reason for that is a cookbook is the perfect goal setting metaphor, and it's a perfect methodology. There's 5 things in it. First off, there's a beautiful picture. That picture represents the final end result. Basically tells you what's going to be on your dinner plate in about an hour or 2. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Why that's important is that most people don't have a picture of where they want to go. So it's critically important that you begin there. In the same way that every interior designer or architect could walk into a naked building and they could tell you exactly how this thing is going to end up with. It's amazing. So whether you call it a superpower or what have you, you need to giddy up and develop that one pretty quick. From there, if you break down, I'll do it fast. In the cookbook, you'll notice that their ingredients are specific, they're measurable. They are sequential, where there's a step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then more importantly, there's time and temperature for you and I that would be deadline. This entire program is based on what I call principles of certainty. And what I mean by that, certainty and probability is probably the best two words. Everything that you're going to go through, I am absolutely 100% certain work. They've been tested, they've been proven, they've been validated by me, by clients, and everything else. But more importantly is they work 100% of the time. So when I say this, I talk about the idea of principle of compounded effort. We're talking about consistency applied again and again and again. It's when you break the chain is when you get yourself in trouble, because then you've got to rebuild momentum and all that type of stuff. So I know what works and what doesn't, and not trying to come across as cocky, but I think when you make an investment in a program, you need to feel comfortable and confident that the person delivering the content knows what they're talking about. So that's critical to it. But so you're going to go through my entire goal setting methodology. Once you have your 3 goals, your deadlines laid out, your plan, every single day, it's going to be it's like a drip marketing campaign, but in this case, it's a drip content campaign. You won't receive everything on day 1. You'll receive 1 lesson a day. First thing in the morning, you log in, you embrace the idea of starting each day fast and also finishing strong. And what I mean by that is what I'm looking for you to do is to get off the mark quickly, to build momentum quickly. I'm not a big believer in trying to take on a large magnanimous task first thing in the morning, because it's going to require too much effort. I want you to have quick wins. I want you to get your natural endorphins moving. I want momentum as quickly in a day as possible, and you carry that throughout. So you're going to basically kind of go through and prioritize from what are the key things you can do to kind of cherry pick a little bit, if you will, in order to start and blast out of the gate fast. And then obviously, 7-8 hours later, after you go through the video lesson for the day, you're going to get a follow-up email, which is basically your review for the day. It's going to ask you, how did you perform? Go back in, record your goals, document your process. And that basically is a good solid checks and balances on a day-to-day basis. So you can't hide from it, which I think is probably one of the best things. And then on a weekly basis, you're expected to go through a very detailed, what I call an after-action review, which is a real serious kind of come to Jesus meeting where you look at your results, determine if you're on or off target, and what corrective actions need to take place. To me, that's probably the most critically important part of the program.
Yeah, and that's a great shift for a lot of people that currently have a 9-to-5 job and they're trying to branch out and develop a business or try to break away from their day job and really pursue their passion. And I teach this all the time online, is the best thing about running your own business and being an entrepreneur is that you don't have a boss. And the worst thing about it is that you don't have a boss, because isn't that right, Gary?
To me, I think you've got to put the word successful on the front end. But to be a successful entrepreneur where your business is profitable, there's not a better job in the world. It's better than a Hollywood star. It's better than an athlete. There's nothing better. The freedom that comes from that is extraordinary. And by the way, because we haven't spoken about that word, but the end result of this entire program is to teach you all the skills of self-reliance, all the skills of really how do you create rapid progress and how do you execute to the best of your abilities. But the end result of all of this, not only do you become your own hero and you take control of your life, but most importantly, you get freedom. You get freedom to run your business your own way. You get freedom to, hire who you want, to do the things that you want, to come and go and travel and so forth. And the fact is, until you are able to connect the dots between cause and effect, until you're able to take an idea of nothing and turn it into something tangible, you'll never have freedom. So it's imperative that you learn how to execute. And if you can learn how to execute with speed and precision, my goodness, we're all playing a high-stakes game of one and done. I mean, that's it, just the way that it goes. And I think that it's our right and our responsibility to find the fastest way to turn our goals and dreams and our intentions into reality. And the better job you do that, and the quicker in life, earlier in life you learn that, the better off you're going to be. You really are.
Right. And one of the best freedoms that we get out of being a successful entrepreneur is that it gives us the time freedom to be able to actually execute on other things like our whys that are so important to us in life. So if we execute on our business first properly and most importantly, efficiently, that's when we get the time freedom to be able to execute in our marriage, execute in our relationship with our kids, execute in our community, anything else that we're passionate about in life outside of our business. We don't have that freedom if we're not executing efficiently in a big way and a consistent, certain way like you were just describing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, I'm super excited for everybody to go through your 100-day challenge and really experience this firsthand for themselves. And as Online Sales Pro members, we're going to give you, Gary's been generous enough to give us a special group code. So when you go to the sign up page, you're going to see there's two different payment options, but you're going to see the ability to enter in a group code. And this group code for Online Sales Pro members only, it only works if you're an active Online Sales Pro member. But that group code is OSP50, and he's been generous enough to give all of the OSP members $50 off his normal published rate for his 100-day challenge. That's a really, really cool thing that he's given us. So use the group code OSP50. And I also asked Gary to give us one additional thing that he doesn't give out normally when people take the course, because I want to give you guys the most value, even though his course already is so much value. But as an OSP member, I want to give you something extra special. So Gary, let them know what additional mini course that you're going to be giving them as a special bonus.
You know, the title of it is Unleash Your Greatness. And the whole idea is just, first off, explain to you what greatness really looks like and what it entails. Obviously, I'm incorporating a number of principles into the 100-day challenge. But when you get through with this, you're going to sit back and realize that the best thing that you can do is to do hard things, is to dare mighty things, if you will, and to really shoot for the moon. And I'll give you a strategy for going through that. But this in itself is a fantastic little presentation and a great little program. So you're going to enjoy that immensely.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited for you guys to go through that extra bonus course as well. That's not something he normally gives away when people sign up for the 100-day challenge. So you guys are getting that exclusively here. Just to leave everybody with before they go and purchase the 100-day challenge here, what's one thing that you could give them as an advice to maybe take some immediate action like we're wanting everybody to take?
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. Neither tomorrow is not your friend and yesterday is not your friend. All we have is right now. And the fact is, you're listening to this. You've gone this far in this presentation, and you just have to sit back and say to yourself, the best time to take action is now. And I always tell folks, you know, you want to get when should you get in great shape? Is it after the heart attack comes? No, it's before you want to do that. When should you, go in contact and talk to somebody about reducing your debt? Well, it's before you get yourself in trouble. And the fact is, I could go through a litany of different things. But here's my philosophy on it is 3 little letters. We've heard about dynamite, TNT. Today, not tomorrow. Today, not tomorrow is the best time to get in shape. Today, not tomorrow is the best time for you to grow your business. Today, not tomorrow is the best time for you to follow up. Today, not tomorrow is to go out there and tell your wife, your kids that you love them and care for them. There is no better solution than taking action today. And I don't care what the situation is. That will apply throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, and everybody has their today to create what they want to create in that day. And it's up to you to actually take that action and make your day what it's going to be. So I love what you're saying there, Gary, because it really is, that focus that we need every single day to wake up and say, this is what we're doing today. Too many times I find, people that say, well, it's just not working. I'm not making progress. Then you go and look and see what decisions they made in the morning to do, what they actually did, and did they even make a decision at all to do anything that day other than sit there and wonder what they were going to do for the entire day. And time just keeps moving. And that's the biggest thing, you start to realize after a while. I turned 40 last year and I was like, no matter what I do every single day, time keeps going, doesn't care. So very cool. All right. Well, I appreciate that insight. You guys can take action and purchase the 100-day challenge. You're going to get that $50 off as an Online Sales Pro member and get the additional bonus that Gary just mentioned there. So be sure to take action and take his 100-day challenge. Let me just leave you with this one final thought, though, because I know that Gary's worked with some major brands, major corporations, major companies. What he's offering this course for is ridiculously affordable in comparison. And I'm just gonna put you on the spot, Gary, because I didn't even ask you this, but if someone were to say, hey, Gary, sit down with me for 100 days and I want you to be my personal, advisor for 100 days, what would you charge for 100 days for that service?
Yeah, it's a good question. I always tell people, here's the thing. I'm booked out. I do 3 talks a month. and each one of them gets billed out at 25 grand a piece. I could do more. I just don't want to be away from the family. The fact is, you're getting the best of breed information. And I'm talking about stuff that I do share with the Navy SEALs, stuff that I do share with, you name it, from Starbucks to Apple to Google and all of these different companies I've worked with. And this is all packaged in a nice little bow, if you will, wrapped around for you for an insanely low price. And here's the reason for it. I want to impact the masses. And could I sell this for a lot more money? Of course I could. But the fact is, where it's at right now is at such a sweet spot and almost as an impulse buy that it's impossible. I think it's almost impossible for you to say, I've got to at least give this a try. And that's ultimately where I want you to do, is make that commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody should invest in themselves, purchase Gary's 100-day challenge, absorb the content, take action on it. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to purchase this and not do a single thing with it and not even take any action at all, you probably shouldn't. And would you agree with me, Gary? I mean, this isn't for the person that's just going to buy it and let it sit and collect dust on their shelf. We want action takers. I love the fact that you have the ability in there to send your little worksheet to your accountability partner and get that accountability. You just really hit all the little places that we as entrepreneurs and affiliate marketers need, that little extra bit of focus and clarity every single day. So you were talking about certainty earlier. Do you have any type of a guarantee or anything with this course as people are jumping in and putting faith in not only our recommendation of it, but also your ability to deliver the content?
Absolutely. You know, it's a rock solid 30-day money back guarantee. Any issue on your part, just give us a call. We'll take care of it.
Perfect. And that's a testament, I think, to the fact that you want people going through your course that are liking it, absorbing it, taking action on it, and most importantly, seeing results from it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Very cool. I appreciate your time today. Gary, everybody, I'm looking forward to seeing all the comments in our Facebook group of people going through the 100-day challenge. Appreciate your time very much, and looking forward to connecting with you in the future, Gary.
Thank you.